Hello everyone, welcome to this session. This is Para Jumbles 1. In this session, I'm going to be talking about para jumbles and how they're important for your exam, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about the importance of para jumbles and a lot about how you should solve them. Now, why are para jumbles important? That's a very important thought that we need to, pay attention to. Now, what is CAT all about? Let's understand that for a moment and then I'll take you to parajumbles and their logic. Now, if you look at CAT actually, let's talk a little bit about CAT. So, CAT will have in its VARC section 24 questions. Out of this 24 questions, the breakup is like this. There are 16 questions of RC, 4 passages with 4 questions each, making up 16 questions. In VA, you have 8 questions, which are made up of para jumbles, 2 questions, para summary, 2 questions, odd sentence para jumbles, 2 questions, and sentence placement, 2 questions. Now, out of these, all the RC questions are MCQ, which means there is a +3 but also a -1 to it. Okay, so there is a big penalty also. In the VA, so I'll write it here. So RC is MCQ. In VA, para summary is MCQ. Also, sentence placement is MCQ. The only ones that are theta are para jumbles and odd sentence para jumbles. That means if you attempt these questions and you get them wrong, there is no negative marking. So therefore, these are must attempt questions. You have to do them. Okay, the parajumble question and the odd sentence parajumble questions. These are must attempts. If anyone is writing CAT, they must make sure that they do the 2 theta, 2 and plus 2, 4 theta questions. That means you're getting if you get them right, you've got plus 12 marks. But if you don't get them right, there is no negative, which you will get in all other questions. So that's my first thought. Okay, this is very important that you understand this. The second thing that you must understand is that I will erase this and come to that, is that to get a 99.9 percentile in CAT, okay, what do you need? You need around 45 to 46 marks. Okay. Now, to get this 45 to 46 marks, you need to get 15 questions perfectly right or 15 to 16 questions 100% accurate, right? Which means you will have to attempt at least 18 questions to 20 questions right. Then you will get some 15 to 16 questions right. To get to this 18, let's keep a lower number of 18. To get to this 18 question attempt, you will need to, if you do all the VA questions, which are difficult to do, you still do all the VA questions, you will do at least 10 RC questions. That means you end up doing all VA questions. So therefore, and because they're easier to read, the other option would be that you do all RCs, which is 16 questions, and then do another 4 VA questions. Okay, that could be the other way around. But since doing 16 RC questions means reading 4 large passages, it is going to be more difficult than doing 3 RCs and getting like 10 questions right or whatever. Anyway, so that's your thought. But the important thought is that without VA, you will not be able to get to your 99 percentile. So therefore, building an expertise in VA is very, very important. I'm not denying the importance of reading comprehension. You'll have to do that also. But a lot of people say, oh, I'll be able to do my VA. You will be able to do it, and you'll do it with accuracy is very, very important. So therefore, guys, you must make sure that you're doing your para jumbles, your para summary, your odd sentence, and your sentence placement very well. Now, the concepts of para jumbles, which is how you arrange your sentences. Okay. What is para jumble? A passage is given, it's all jumbled up, and you have to arrange them in a logical order. Now, this arrangement will also help you with your odd sentence parajumbles and will also help you with your sentence placement, because all of these are about making sure that one sentence fits with another sentence and that they will fit very well. So therefore, if you do your parajumbles well, you will also be able to do your odd sentence parajumbles well and your sentence placement. So that's why this session is so important for anyone who's preparing for CAT VRC. All right, guys, I hope you've understood this logic and that you're continuing with the session. I will tell you in today's session 7 very important tricks that will help you understand logical order and will help you arrange your sentences. I hope you can see me and hear me. If you are all here, then can you give me a quick like, share, and subscribe so that I'm very happy. Of course, you know that I love the likes, I love the shares, and I also love the fact that you've subscribed, because then you will be able to come back to this session and or other sessions that we are having every week. Remember, Fridays every week I come to you at 8:30, 8:45 now, because class finishes at 8:30. So 8:45 p.m. Fridays, of course, we have the session. So do make sure you're joining in. Okay. All right. So let's come to this. Okay, big announcement. Race to 99 percentile is back yet again. And for all our students, you can register using this QR code. Race to 99 is a live strategy program where all the marquee faculties from CL will be taking up this session. The first session happens on 21st of March from 8 p.m. That's Saturday. The next one happens on 22nd of March. That's Sunday, again 8 p.m. And the third and final session, which will be taken up by Rahul Reddy and myself, will happen on 28th of March. Again, Saturday, 8 p.m. So do make sure you are there, right? GP, Shivku, Rahul, Shashank, myself, and Ravi Teja, we are all going to be meeting you and discussing various CAT papers. So remember, this is so important for your race to 99 percentile. The head start is here, guys. So quickly register. This QR will help you register for all the sessions. All right, let's talk about parajumbles and what logical flow means in parajumbles, because that's what you are learning, right? Now, what logical flow means in parajumble? Logical flow essentially refers to the logical progression of sentences, how one idea in a paragraph goes to another idea, where each sentence will either introduce, develop, qualify, exemplify, or conclude a thought. The idea is that you respect information hierarchy. So you go from a general statement to a specific one. You go from cause to effect. You go from an abstract idea to a concrete idea. You remember to maintain referential continuity. What do I mean by referential continuity? That means a pronoun will refer to a noun prior to it. Determiners will refer to certain things. Discourse markers such as conjunctions, etc., will connect one idea with another. So do make sure that you're understanding your logical flow. This will help you in your parajumbles, odd sentence parajumbles, as well as in your sentence placement questions. Remember, parajumbles do not test grammar in isolation. They do test your discourse coherence, cognitive sequencing, and rhetorical structure in a passage. All right, here are some tricks. Trick number 1 to recognize logical flow is identifying the idea anchor. What do I mean by an idea anchor? An idea anchor is that one sentence which starts out your passage. It is your opening sentence. So remember, the opening sentence will never use pronouns without antecedents. They will not refer back to something. So no this, these, such, therefore, and so on. It will always introduce a topic or a claim, not a reaction. So please remember that. That's your first and the most important trick in solving parajumbles. The cue here is, if I read only this sentence, do I understand what this paragraph is about? You're not doing anything else. So read the sentence and see, will this sentence tell me what the passage is about? That's going to be your introductory sentence. Okay. For example, take a look. Economic growth has long been regarded as the primary measure of national success. Well, we're talking of what is economic growth. right? So that makes sense. This assumption has been widely challenged. I know this assumption must have some reference prior to it, which is not given here. Therefore, the second sentence cannot be a good idea anchor. While the first one is definitely a good idea anchor that will help you understand, okay, we are talking about economic growth. We are saying that it is considered the primary measure of national success. That means if a nation is successful, number one measure of that will be economic growth. So that starts the idea, and then you go on from there. So to check this thing, let us look at a question. Here is a very sweet question. This assumption, however, ignores the social costs that often accompany rapid industrialization. Two cues here. Number one is this, number two is however. I know both of these. Expect something else. Economic growth has long been treated as the primary indicator of national progress. These costs include environmental degradation and widening income inequality. As a result, several economists have argued for alternative measures of development. I hope you've understood that the starting sentence here was B. Economic growth has been treated as the primary indicator. We have just done it also, you understand. Right now, the minute I see the social costs and I see these costs, I know they are connected. So A and C have to be connected. And then finally D, which says as a result, would have come right in the end. So therefore, my sequence should have been B, A, C, D. Well, if it is, let's check very quickly. Yes, B introduces the core idea, A critiques the assumption, C elaborates on the social cost, and D logically concludes. So that's your set, guys. Okay. All right, come to the second cue or clue that we have. This is the second trick, track information expansion. Use the zoom rule. Obviously, always remember, you go from the larger lens to the shortest lens. So go from wide shot to mid shot to close up, okay? Look at it like first you look at the larger picture, then limit yourself, then come to the actual thing. So sentences typically move from broad idea to explanation to example to implication. Okay, that's a nice one. Broad idea, explanation, example, and implication. Looks like one of those ratings that you have, the B rating or the B rating now. So go from wide to mid short to close up. Recognition markers. Now this is important, that the definition will come before the example. Please first define, then only give an example. A concept will come before an illustration. Concept first, illustration later. Claims will come before a data. You have to first claim, okay, national income is the primary indicator. And then you bring out the data and say, okay, here is the data, and this shows that national income has to be the primary indicator, or whatever else you're talking about. So remember to track information expansions, zoom in. Okay. All right, here's your question. Let's take a look. We are looking at zooming. One striking example is the decline of bee populations across agricultural regions. Biodiversity loss poses a serious threat to ecological stability. So I know one striking example of something. So what will that sentence has to come later? This decline has disrupted pollination cycles, affecting long-term food production and all of that. I can see the connection between decline of bee population and this decline. So I know A and C will go together. Scientists warn that such disruptions could have long-term consequences for human survival. So that is the implication. So therefore that will come right in the end. So B, which is the problem statement, then A, which is the example, then C, which sort of forms of the example, and then finally the implications of that. So B, A, C, D should be your answer. Okay. All right. See, let's quickly check. B states the broad issue, the wide angle. A narrows the focus to a specific example. C then consequence, and D is the larger implication. So that's your set. Let's look at the next one. Cause effect is such an important thing while you're solving your para jumbles. Remember, the cause effect chain is why something has happened, what has happened, and so what. So that's so easy and simple for you to remember. Why, what, so what. Right now, para jumbles, a lot of them will follow causal logic. Cause can be condition or the problem, the effect is the result or the outcome, and the inference is the implication or conclusion. So CEI, cause, effect, inference. That's going to be the things that you remember and arrange. That's how you will arrange. Start with the cause, then go to the effect, then go to the inference. Now, signal words can be for cause, because, due to, stems from, right? Any of those, as, since, all of these are cause words. Effect can be therefore, consequently, as a result. The inference will be this suggests, hence, thus. These are all inferences of this thing. Okay. So remember that your cause effect chains are going to be there. Now, para jumble, let's take a look. So A says, consequently, many urban centers are struggling to provide adequate public services. B says, rapid urbanization in developing countries has placed immense pressure on city infrastructure. This strain is evident in overcrowded housing, inadequate sanitation, and traffic congestions. Policymakers must therefore rethink existing models of urban planning. So I know that B is my starting point, because that sort of introduces the problem that rapid urbanization has placed immense pressure on the city infrastructure. Now, this strain is evident in overcrowded housing, inadequate sanitation, traffic congestion. Therefore, many urban centers are struggling to provide adequate public services, and policymakers must therefore rethink existing models of urban planning. Now, so ideally, I think this should be BCAD and let's quickly check if it is BCAD. Here you are, your answer will be like this. Okay, so yes, BCAD, take a look, the cause, the effects, systemic outcome, and then a policy oriented inference, and that's your set. Let's come to the next trick. Fourth thing that you will remember, pronoun and determiner dependency test. A pronoun cannot introduce new entities. So if a sentence is beginning with this, these, such, they, it, then remember it will come after a sentence where the noun is introduced. Remember, pronouns are connectors, not starters. That's so important, right? Keep that in mind. All right, let's take a look at this. Such practices undermine public trust in democratic institution. I want to know, what are these such practices? Electoral manipulation has taken various forms across different political systems. These include voter suppression. Okay, I want to know, what are these? So, voter suppression, misinformation campaigns, and tampering with ballots. I think it should be electoral manipulation that we are talking about here. So, B and C. Over time, the damage caused by this erosion becomes difficult. What is this erosion? Probably this undermining of public trust. So B, C, and then A, and then D. So B sort of starts out the problems, as there are electoral manipulations in many forms. Then the many forms are mentioned in C, so detailing. Then what is the result of that? That public trust is undermined. And finally, what happens is that it cannot be reversed. So he's giving you everything. Okay. So noun phrase, electoral manipulation, these comes later, such practices comes later, this erosion then refers back to A, and that becomes your sequence, right? We have seen this electoral manipulation, we have seen these, we've seen such practices, and we've also seen this erosion. I've already pointed these out to you. Trick number 5, contrast markers signal mid-paragraph shifts. Okay, words like however, yet, nevertheless, on the other hand, they don't begin paragraphs, so they can't be the first sentence. Okay, they indicate evaluation or opposition, so they will always appear after an idea is established. Once I say something, then only I will either evaluate it or oppose it. So remember that these contrast signal markers, they're so important, huh? Contrast signal markers could be these. However, yet, nevertheless, on the other hand. They could also be though, although, even though. They could also be in spite of, despite. They could also be while, whereas, nonetheless, notwithstanding, nevertheless. These are all contrast signal markers. The implied contrast could be strangely, surprisingly, illogically, paradoxically, anomaly. Okay, these are also signal markers. They may just be implied, but they're still signal markers, at least contrast signal markers. Here is your trick. So look at this set. However, recent studies suggest that multitasking reduces overall productivity. Multitasking is often praised as a valuable skill in modern workplaces. I know this is my introductory sentence. These studies show increased error rate and cognitive. Okay, so these studies are the ones that are mentioned in A, so A and then C. As a result, organizations are beginning to reassess how work is structured. So B, A, C, D then sort of becomes your sequence and your correct answer. So that's your answer B, presenting a conventional belief that multitasking is often praised as valuable. A, introducing the contrast that however recent studies are suggesting something. Then C is showing you the evidence, and then D is showing you what is the implication of that. So that's your logical set. Trick number 6, example and evidence sentences are never first. Again, something that's not going to go first. Remember, examples and evidences don't go first ever. So any sentence that contains statistics, case studies, historical examples, words like for instance, for example, will always follow a claim or a generalization. So the claim goes first, and then the example or evidence comes, right? So please remember that. Okay, here you are. For instance, countries with strong social safety nets report lower inequality levels. Income inequality remains a persistent challenge in many economies. Problem statement. This suggests that policy interventions can significantly influence outcomes. Redistribution mechanism plays a crucial role in addressing this challenge. This challenge I know connects with the persistent challenge in B. So B and then D. And then you come to, for instance, it says countries with strong social safety nets have lower inequality levels, and then you come to the final suggestion that this suggests that policy interventions can significantly influence in economic outcomes. So B, D, A, C should be your correct answer. B, introducing the problem. D, proposing a general solution. A, giving you an example. And then C, drawing an inference. Again, I will reiterate: A with the example, B with the problem, this suggestion connecting with something, and this challenge also connecting with the statement there. So that's your trick number 6. Trick number 7, the tone will progress from neutral to analytical to judgmental. Okay, so a well-written paragraph will follow tonal escalation. If you really want to say, you start with a neutral statement, then you look at the pros and cons, and then you finally reach a conclusion. So that's your evaluative or concluding remark. So conclusion sentences will often summarize, warn, predict, or recommend. When you look at your CAT passages, that's what you will find. The last sentences sort of sum it up, or most of the time they predict or recommend something, right? So those are your conclusion statements. Remember, neutral, analytical, judgmental. Now, this dependence raises concerns about data privacy and user autonomy. What is this dependence talking about? Digital platforms have become integral to everyday communication. While these platforms are the digital platforms offer convenience, they also centralize vast amounts of personal data. Without regulatory oversight, such concerns are likely to intensify. So I started with my neutral statement, which was sentence number B, talked about digital platforms being integral to everyday communication. Then I came to the next one, which was doing the analysis. While these are convenient, they centralize vast amount of data, and because all this data is one place, there is a concern about data privacy and user autonomy. Now, without regulatory oversight, if there is no regulatory oversight, so this is your warning or your prediction, these concerns are likely to intensify. So I go from B to C to A to D, and that then becomes my answer set. So B is very neutral and descriptive. C introduces the analytical balance, A evaluates the risk, and D offers a forward-looking judgment sort of a thing. So your sequence becomes B, C, A, and D. All right, now here are some common student errors that people make. Number 1, pair matching without idea awareness. Without reading something, without understanding something, you cannot just connect words. Please understand, linking words or sentences because of similar words, ignoring the argument flaw is a big problem. Error number two, treating grammar as the logic. No, please don't focus on tenses, prepositions. Please understand the logical flow is more important than grammatical connections. So please don't go on that. Number three, ignoring abstract to concrete movement. That's so important. Please remember, don't place examples before the concept. So first concept, then the example. First the abstract idea, then the concrete idea. First the broad idea, then the narrow idea. Remember, you're zooming from a very wide lens to a mid lens to a narrow lens. Keep that in mind. So readers need framework before evidence. So you first frame the idea, say it, and then give your evidence. Assuming any sentence can be an opener is an incorrect idea. Please choose sentences which do not have pronouns, which do not have any evaluative tones as starters. Those are going to be your number one sentences. Remember, an opener has to be a sentence that is able to say something or say a thing by itself. So it has to be self-contained. It has to be neutral. So keep these in mind, guys. That's so important while solving your para jumbles. Okay. All right, that brings me to the end of this session. I hope I've been able to help you with logical flow in para jumbles. This is something that will stand you in good stead, whether it is para jumbles, sentence placement, or odd sentence para jumbles. If you have any questions, drop it in the chat box. I will answer them. For any inquiries, of course, 8130-038-836. Thank you so much for joining in. Remember to hit like, share, and subscribe. Bye-bye.